That is great. All right. Well, we have another special guest that's coming up, and he's got a worldwide premiere book launch that he has right here at the Rod of Iron Freedom Festival. So you guys are the first to see it. So Justin, your guest is?
Jack Posobiec. Okay. Hold on a second. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to be able to introduce to you Jack Posobiec, a renowned American journalist and political commentator. As correspondent for One American News and as a popular voice on social media, Jack has built a reputation for fearless reporting and incisive analysis on the most pressing issues of our time. For investigative journalism, he is well known for exposing Antifa violence and the coverage of the 2020 U.S. presidential election irregularities. He's a documentarian. He's produced and directed the Antifa documentary, and he's an author of 4 different books: The Antifa Story from Inside the Counterculture, The Great Reset, Global Elites and the Permanent Lockdown, Unhuman, The Secrets of the Communist Revolution, and his latest book, Bulletproof, The Truth About the Assassination Attempt on Donald Trump. You all need to get this book. Jack is a social media, has a large social media following in which he has over 2 million followers on Twitter and is known for his provocative commentary. His YouTube channel is featured, and he was recently featured with Tucker Carlson in Tucker Carlson's presentations throughout the state. Jack has uncovered the Trump train controversy, is well known for that scoop and for exposing deep state leaks. With that said, it is my great pleasure and honor to introduce to you Jack Posobiec.
Let me just say, God bless the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And in just over 20 days, I do believe, and I've prayed to this, I pray every night on this, that Pennsylvania is the state that becomes the tipping point state that opens the gate to liberate America and put Donald J. Trump back in the White House. This is the state where it all comes down. You may not feel like it right now, but I'll tell you something. This is ground zero. You are on the front lines of the battle for freedom, on the battle in what I believe is a spiritual war, and on the battle for our country, the very soul of our country. Are we going to be a country that goes forward into freedom? Are we going to be a country that goes forward into prosperity, into peace? Or are we going to fall to godless, atheist, globalist communism? Well, I'll tell you something. I am not going to allow my 2 little boys to grow up in a Marxist, godless, communist country. No, absolutely not. I totally and unequivocally reject it. My family came to Pennsylvania from Poland over 100 years ago. My father is sitting right there in the front row, and we will tell you the history. Thank you. What's up, Dad? We'll tell you the history of communism, the history of Poland. It tells you about this because for 123 years, Poland was wiped off the map. Poland was taken off. They were partitioned by the Russian Empire, the German Empire. They came back for a little bit. Then World War II happened. People know about that one. Invaded on one side, invaded on the other, totally subjugated. And then after the war, FDR sells out Poland and hands them over to the Soviet Union, and Poland gets controlled by communism all the way up through the 1990s. And so people will say, how could you survive something like that? How could you as a people, go through something like that, and obviously they're very well affected by it, but Poland today is thriving. Poland today is one of the safest places in all of Europe. Poland today is one of the most prosperous places in all of Europe in terms of their economic growth. And why is that? How were they able to survive so much atrocity, so much actual systemic oppression, by the way? That's real oppression, when you get invaded from outside and totally occupied as a country. Well, and when I go, and I've gone back to Poland and talked to my Polish family about it, it's very simple. They're very simple. They say it's very simple. We never gave up on our culture, we never gave up on our language, and we never gave up on Almighty God. And we understood that if God was on our side, He would see us through anything. And that is what I have to come here today. And I'm sure there's plenty of Poles in the audience as well. You gotta fight like the Poles. You have to fight like Poles to take back your country. And President Trump said it last night, and we're here to say it today. The answer is very simple, ladies and gentlemen. We live in an occupied country. We live in a country that's controlled by not the people of this country, not the citizens of this country. We live in a country that's controlled by multinational organizations, in a country that's controlled by globalists, in a country that's controlled by oligarchic corporations. And we, the people, have decided it's time to put this United States back under new management. It's time to have a country that is for Americans, that is by Americans and only Americans, because that's the essence of America first. That's what it's all about. And so when we look at this country and we look at the way our government is running, $8 billion to Ukraine, $8 billion to the Middle East. But what do we get? Well, what we get is millions and millions of migrants all over the world are being sent here. They're sent to Charleroi, Pennsylvania. They're sent to Springfield, Ohio. They're sent to Longwood, Illinois, and Indiana. And why are they bringing this in? And they want to tell us that we have to justify why it is that we want the migrants out. No. They are the ones who have to justify why our country is being invaded and why they are on the side of it, why they are enabling it. That's what they have to justify. We don't have to justify wanting safe homes. We don't have to justify wanting safe neighborhoods and safe schools and wanting prosperity and wanting to have our jobs back and wanting our economy back. We don't have to justify any of those things, because we want is our God-given rights, and we know that our God-given rights are being infringed every day under this government, and that's why we are going to invoke the Declaration of Independence, and we are going to take our government back. And I know we're all here today. Of course, we're at the great Tommy Gun warehouse. A shout out to Tommy Gun, by the way, and the family here. I love my rooftop Koreans. Don't we love our rooftop Koreans, folks? We have the best rooftop Koreans. Look, it's very simple. The Second Amendment is fundamental to all other rights, because the Second Amendment is the positive expression of our rights. We saw what happened in Katrina. We saw what happened in many instances where the government has tried to come in all around the world and take away people's rights. And that is why the Second Amendment under the next Trump administration will never be infringed. It will be preserved, and it will be extended for all time. And we know. And by the way, this is the operation. So when you see folks like Kamala, by the way, show of hands, is there any, I'd love to know, and by the way, if there is anyone, I'd love to talk to you. Is there anyone in this room who actually thinks that Kamala Harris has ever shot a gun? Really? Is there anyone who thinks that? It's a joke. It's a joke. They're lying to you. They're lying to your face. You said, I own a Glock. I own a Glock. And if you come in my house, I'm going to shoot you. What? Meanwhile, we realize when you look at her actual record, she supported legislation back in California that would make Glocks illegal. That's what they want. This is a prosecutor from loony San Francisco, and she wants to turn the entire United States back into turn it into San Francisco. And you know what I say? I want to take Kamala Harris and send her back to San Francisco. That's where she belongs. She can go clean that up. She can go clean up the streets and live in the, and I've got 2 little kids, and I say, you know what? You got to live in the mess you made. You got to clean up your mess first. I'm not cleaning it up for you. That's what she has done. But they're trying to run this operation now. It's a psychological operation to make you think that she and Tim Walz are hunters and that they're for the Second Amendment. It's a lie. And not a person in this room, and I certainly hope that there isn't a single hunter or gun owner in the entire state of Pennsylvania that is going to believe it. You know, Tim Walz is going on a pheasant hunting trip right now. Have you heard this? It's ridiculous. He's going on, and why is there a group there? This is what I want to ask. Why is there a group called Pheasants Forever that is going to hold a hunt with a guy like that who has talked about taking away our rifles, taking away our handguns, lying about serving in combat so that he could confiscate guns? These people are gun grabbers. They need to be stopped, and any hunting organization that is dealing with them is a shame and a disgrace. We know what their project is. We know exactly what their project is. They want to strip away the right to the Second Amendment. They want to strip away our right to arms, our right to bear arms. Why? Because if they take that right away, we don't have anything left. We don't have anything left, because when your back's up against the wall, you know that that's the last thing that you have. But if they take it away, then they'll take away your right to freedom of speech. They'll take away your right to religion. They'll take away every single right you have left. What did Kamala Harris say? Right, I mentioned Hurricane Katrina. We've seen the horrific hurricanes going on and the disastrous response of FEMA. You know, they didn't even call up the 82nd Airborne until a week later. I'm sorry, the 82nd Airborne is there for all the countries around the world, but the 82nd Airborne can't be there for the people of the United States when they're in the same exact state as, and I'm sorry, I'm going to say it, Fort Bragg. It's called Fort Bragg, all right? That's the name of it. I don't know whatever ridiculous name that they put it for it. No, it's called Fort Bragg, and we know it's called Fort Bragg. But they wouldn't do it until a week later, and they left those people out there, and I'll tell you why. Because those people were the wrong type of Americans. Those people were, as Barack Obama once described the people of our state, as bitter clingers, clinging to their guns and their Bibles. Well, you know something, Barack Obama, and I understand he's in the state here this weekend. I'll tell you something right now. If you want my gun and if you want my Bible, you can pry them from my cold, dead hands. Because you're not going to get them, Barack Obama and Tim Walz and Kamala Harris and George Soros and Klaus Schwab and whoever else to come in. You're not getting them 1 second. And you got to go through me, and you got to go through the Rod of Iron Ministries, you got to go through the Tommy Gun Warehouse, and you got to go through the Patriots of Pennsylvania and the Minutemen and the New Minutemen. If you ever want to try to take our guns and our Bibles away, come and take them. Molon Labe, baby. Try it. Try it. I had some coffee this morning, can you tell? I love waking up in Pennsylvania. I love the Poconos in the fall, too. When we have a beautiful state, we have one of the most beautiful states in the entire country. Pennsylvania doesn't always get its due for that, but it's absolutely... Pennsylvania in fall, can you beat it? You can't. You can't beat Pennsylvania in fall. It's impossible. Absolutely impossible. But let me tell you something. We've got 23 days left. 23 days. And so what's incredible is, and I've spoken, and I have spoken, because we now live, and I talked about communism. We now live in a country with political prisoners. My family came out of Poland 100 years ago, but now my children are growing up in a country where they know a political prisoner. And his name is Stephen K. Bannon. I don't know if there's any War Room Posse members in the audience. And we're not too far from FCI Danbury, Connecticut, where Steve Bannon is currently being incarcerated. But I'll tell you something. I talk to Steve Bannon every single day. And you know what Steve Bannon says to me every day? He says, get in the fight. Make sure you tell people out there, don't send me letters, don't come crying to me, because there's no crying in the war room. We need people to take action, because there's no more time for talk. The time for talk is over. The time for persuasion is over. The time for the happy talk of the sunshine soldiers and sunshine patriots is over. Now is the time for action. If you want to take your country back, if you do not want to live in an occupied Pennsylvania anymore, now is the time to get out there. there with the early vote action, with Trump Force 47, with the PA Chase, with my friends like Charlie Kirk and Turning Point Action, going out there and chasing the ballots and just be that. And I was with Elon Musk the other day in Butler, Pennsylvania. We're going to talk about Butler in a second. And I was out there and he said, be that pest. Be that person who's just going up, hey, did you vote yet? Hey, did you vote yet? Why didn't you vote yet? We have early voting in many of the states of 67 counties, of the 67 counties in Pennsylvania. We've got early voting now. We've got mail-in voting. Embrace all of it. Just get out there, and I would highly encourage everyone in this country, or everyone in this room, and everyone in the state, and yes, everyone in the country, because I'm sure, whoever, Media Matters and Vice and all those guys are going to clip this up, that 10x your vote. You just have to 10x your vote. You have to be the force multiplier of your time. You need to be the person that is going to the 10 people around you in your circle and saying, have you voted for Donald J. Trump yet? Are you registered in your current address yet? And then just pester them. Just wear them down. If you go out there, if you're going out in town, remember, no tax on tips. Make sure that everybody knows about this whenever you're putting it up, because this is the way we win. If we come out, if we turn out, we vote. And Pennsylvania is the play. PA is the play. The Keystone State is the key. And it's very interesting that it was in Pennsylvania, on the ground of Pennsylvania itself, that Donald Trump nearly lost his life about 90 days ago in a field in Butler, Pennsylvania. And no one is ever going to tell me from that day until the very day that I breathe my last that Donald Trump was not saved by the hand of God in Butler, Pennsylvania on July 13th at 6:11 p.m. And I said, no one's talking about this story, and we now have a situation where President Trump, I don't know if you've heard this yet because the media isn't reporting it as much as they should, he's still under active assassination threat. They're talking about 5 teams that are running around the country trying to kill him and trying to kill J.D. Vance. I understand that the polls are looking good right now, and as wonderful as that is, we have the momentum at our back. We've got incredible groups like the Patriots of yourselves here assembled in Pennsylvania, but the danger is, can he make it? Can J.D. Vance make it to Election Day? By the way, after that debate that J.D. Vance had with Tim Walz, I said, boy, they got to up J.D. Vance's Secret Service detail, because that guy just mopped the floor with Tim Walz. He's got to be worried. And he did. Here's up for J.D. Vance. But look, folks, we've understood this, and that's why we've decided to write the book, Bulletproof: The Truth About the Assassination Attempts on Donald Trump. And we've written, and now there's been 2 attempts on Donald Trump, and we've got the facts and the details, all the documents from the services. Let me tell you something. 12 independent security failures. And I was just talking to Sean backstage. The very building that was directly within eyesight of the stage at Butler, Pennsylvania, was left uncovered. Now, you don't need to be a member of the Tommy Gun Warehouse to know that that is the exact building where a sniper with malicious intent would choose to take a shot and kill Donald Trump. Let me tell you something, folks. This was not an accident. This was intentional negligence. And we are asking the questions that need to be asked about the highest levels of our government. Were they negligent, or were they complicit in allowing an assassination attempt and multiple assassination attempts take place on Donald J. Trump? We demand answers, and we deserve answers, because Butler, PA is not going away. And what we have done, because we do not trust, I don't need a show of hands on this one, but I don't trust the federal government, okay? I think that's for sure. So what we have done is that we have hired a private investigation firm, and we're doing our own private investigation into Butler, into Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. We are doing the shoe leather work. We are getting down on the ground. We are getting the documents out completely unredacted, and we are going to get to the truth of what happened to Butler and what exactly were these devices that were in communication with Thomas Matthew Crooks. And I know that we're in a gun crowd today, so I'll ask ask the question with Ryan Wesley Routh, this foreign fighter who comes in with the CIA-trained Azov battalion out of Ukraine, how exactly is it that a guy that's been a 20-year felon shows up outside of Mar-a-Lago and the Donald Trump West Palm Beach International Golf Club with a shaved-off serial number, SKS, and he's able to get that, all the ammo, and he's out there for 12 hours, ladies and gentlemen, 12 hours? No, well, guess what? We've got all the documents tying him directly back to Ukraine, to the Azov battalion, to the foreign fighters, and everything that the national security state is using over there. This was a blowback operation, and we've seen this firsthand. We've seen it firsthand, and we're not going to let them get away with it. That's why President Trump, and this is serious. You can Google it right now. President Trump's campaign has said that they have lost confidence in the Secret Service. And they've announced that they are now requesting from the Biden administration a full military escort for President Trump, military aircraft and military vehicles. They want the United States military to get involved to protect him and to do whatever they can to make sure that he stays safe and so that he and J.D. Vance and all the children and everything that's going on are able to get forward. And that is why, and I brought this book up, and yes, we are going to be doing book sales, but I wanted to show you the picture. And people say, why did you choose this picture for the cover? And there's a reason. Everyone remembers the picture of Donald Trump with his hand raised. But this was the moment just before that. This was the moment just before that. And when I say that God got involved, and for those of you who are believers out there, you would know that 6/11 was the time when Donald Trump was shot, took that ear shot. Ephesians 6:11 refers to the armor of God, the exact same verse, 6:11. And for all of Donald Trump's talents and skills and abilities, I don't know that humility is something that I would really put on the top of the list, being humble. But we know that what does God ask? God asks for piety. God asks for humility. God asks for the powerful to humble himself, to humble themselves before God. And God told us, what did he tell us? Every knee shall bend. And I thought about it. It occurred to me that when I looked at this picture, what's the one picture of Donald Trump you've never seen before in your entire life before that very moment? Donald Trump on his knees in prayer to Almighty God. And it was in this moment, I believe it was in this moment that he was brought low, that God gave him the strength, that God gave him the glory, that God gave him the ability, through humility, through prayer. And for those out there, if you're a spiritual warrior, if you're a prayer warrior out there, you'll know what I'm talking about. That it was in that moment that he gave him the strength to under hailfire, to under flying bullets over his head. Have you ever seen a man before, a politician, a businessman, a celebrity, for that when bullets were flying, when people were being shot all around him, he got on his knees and prayed, and then got back up to his feet, threw his hand up in the air and said, "I'm not afraid," and told that entire crowd to fight, 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 fight. And folks, when you see God before you performing miracles, when you see things like that before you, you must understand that when God is on our side, who can be against us when God is with us? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm also honored to say that Donald Trump Jr. actually wrote the foreword to this book talking about everything that didn't just happen to a politician or a businessman, but to his dad, but what happened to his father. And understanding, and President Trump has said himself, he said, "I wasn't supposed to be here. I was supposed to die that day in Butler, and that was intended to be the field of blood." And we did lose an incredible patriot named Corey Compatore. And I'll tell you something, we need to get answers for who murdered Corey Compatore, for his family, and for everyone else. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave you with that. We need to get answers. I'm going to be over here if you want to come and chat some more. But I'll tell you this, and I'll just leave you with this. We need to win Pennsylvania, to liberate America, to liberate this country. Pennsylvania is the gate that opens the door to taking back the United States of America, to restoring freedom in this country, to liberating America, and making this once again a country that's by Americans, for Americans, and of Americans. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless you, and God bless Pennsylvania. They're asking, all right. Well, I'm game. I'm game if you're game. They're saying I have some time for Q&A. I don't know. Do we have a microphone? Do we have a setup?
Will somebody have a microphone out in the crowd?
I'll do Q&A. I'm game. By the way, if there's any disagreeers, I love disagreeers. Charlie Kirk taught me that. He said if someone's disagreeing, put them in the front because that's what goes viral. What can I say? Charlie's good at this stuff.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first at the Rod of Iron Freedom Festival. Jack Posobiec for president.
No. And I will say though, for the book, this book isn't even out yet, actually. So we were working really hard to get this out before the election. But just for those of you who are here as a special gift for the Rod of Iron, this is the very first place in the entire world that you can buy this book, the Bulletproof, at the Rod of Iron Festival, Freedom Fest. This is the very first place we made it available. We did a special printing, especially for you in Pennsylvania, because I said, guys, I'm coming to Pennsylvania. I need some books for these good people. And we've got the documents in here. We've got the text message from the SWAT team. Let me tell you something. They said they didn't know about the shooter. They knew about him for 27 minutes. And I'll tell you what, there isn't a guy in this room who needs 27 minutes to take down some active shooter. Am I right?
Amen. We do it on our own, Jack. You know it.
Do it on our own, yeah. And I'll never forget those videos. And people remember the videos that came out of who was it that was screaming their heads off. It was the Patriots. It was Trump supporters that came out and said, there's a guy on the roof with a gun, and they were screaming at the officers, do something, stop him. And the officers just stood there. And you mean to tell me that wasn't some kind of operation? I don't know.
And they were disarmed at the rally. You can't go into the rally with the gun, or it would have been taken care of. Yes, we do have a question for Jack.
Awesome.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Jack. It's an honor and a privilege to be here and to get to speak with you. Question I have is, we know, I think if the election is fair, that it's going to be a landslide for Donald Trump.
If the election is fair.
That's true.
If the election is fair.
It's a big if. But
because when Josh Shapiro is in charge of counting the votes, I don't know.
I know.
Do we have any Josh Shapiro fans in there?
But assuming that President Trump wins, and I truly believe the left is never going to stop. And in the remaining 2 months or so that they have in power, they're going to do everything they can to deny the peaceful transfer of power, including maybe even trying to charge him and fast track some type of conviction to say that he's unsuitable to serve. Do you have any thoughts on what Donald Trump could do and how he could best prepare himself for what's going to come when he wins the election?
Well, that's a great question, and you know, I don't want to put the cart before the horse because we do have to win first, and we got 23 days to do that, to make sure everyone's voting and make sure everyone's doing the early voting, and again, just Elon Musk said, be that pest, go to the 10 people in your circle and make sure they're voting, and then go to the next 10 people and just keep it up and up and up. And by the way, I'll ask, I'm going to answer your question, but I meant to ask this earlier, but show of hands, do we have anyone who voted here already? Is there anyone who already voted? Yeah, I love that. Look at that. People have done, that is great. That is incredible. And you did, and Scott Pressler, right? Can we talk about Scott? I'm going to see Scott later today, and I have an event with Scott and Tim Pool tomorrow down in Bucks County. And look, what does President Trump need to do? Well, what's incredible is that's why I love the fact that he's surrounding himself with the military. They're putting him at that right now. He's getting the real patriots in charge. And then he's also working with his own detail to make sense of that. Plus, you got guys like the great General Flynn, who I know is here. And of course, great patriots like Tom Homan, wherever Tom's at, that we've got people in place now that I think are going to be prepared for that in ways that, look, we knew 2020 was going to happen. Or correction, we saw 2020 happen. We saw it before our eyes. We've all lived through that. And I actually used to disagree with Steve Bannon. He and I used to get arguments about this in the war room. And yeah, it's true. And Steve would say, Jack, 2020 had to happen. I said, what do you mean it had to happen? This is terrible. This is horrible. This is the worst, situation. They stole an election. They're stealing our country. Why would we have it? He said, but Jack, understand, 2020 was providential. Providential? What do you mean? It's God's plan. 2020 was God's plan because once we've experienced the steal once, we've learned how they do it, and now we know what to look for doing it again. And I really do believe that with the legal team he's got in place, with the security team that he is now putting in place, this is the reason they haven't been able to get rid of him. Think of it. They tried to censor him on social media. They tried to they tried to gag him. They tried to use lawfare against him. They tried to indict him. They tried to strip him from the ballot. Remember, this is the team that's fighting for democracy, right? They tried to take away our right to vote for the guy that we think ought to be president. And then, after all of that, 2 people now have tried to blow his head off. And I'm told, and we talk about in the book, there are even other assassination attempts that haven't even been made public yet. So put it this way, they wouldn't be trying to kill him if they thought they could stop him any other way. So it's going to be a fight. And all the patriots out there, we got to stand our ground and peacefully but forcefully make sure that the votes are counted properly. Thank you for the question. That was great. Do we have any more?
I think we're good, Jack. We'd love to have you all day, but we do have a couple of the guys coming up. So.
All right. Well, folks, I'm going to be backstage or wherever they're going to send me, and we've got the books available. I'd love to meet every single one of you and take a selfie, and this is going to be great. Thank you so much for being here. And what can I say? When they called me up and said, do you want to come speak in Pennsylvania? I said, are you kidding? There's nowhere in the world I'd rather be.
Amen. Thank you, Jack. God bless. That's the best, man. I'm going to announce about 1:15 to do some